Okay, so this is going pretty good. So let's take a look at some more of this review stuff on here. So we know what a dilemma is. We know what an omnivore is. We know what vegetarian, vegan, herbivore, and carnivore are. Ethical decisions and responsibility, which is trying to do what's right regardless of the cost, meaning maybe it's the ethical thing to do is eat meat, even though it's not as much fun. Consumption, food, and in general. The using up of a resource, food or other materials, the total amount of food that is available in a town, state, or nation, the total amount of food a person eats. To consume something is to use it. Now, the committee here has put something interesting here, food and in general. So consumption, what you consume, what you take, is usually used for food, right? Because when you consume something, you take it and you're destroying it when you're eating it, right? Your consumption doesn't just mean it means to sort of take it in and destroy it. So when you take a cow, you destroy the cow and you turn it into beef, and then you eat the beef, and then the beef is gone and nobody else can have it because you ate it. That's consumption. Now, they did something interesting here, which is that they point out that consumption doesn't just have to be food. You probably consume a lot of things. You consume alcohol, but you also might you might be a consumption is also about buying things and throwing them away. It's about so the essays are about ethical ways to consume food. But you might also think about other things that you consume. Consumer goods, for example, are products and things that you buy. So we've been spent a lot of time in this class talking about, like, is it ethical to eat meat, considering the fact that the animals are so badly treated? Because if you eat meat, then you're giving money to those people who treat animals badly, and they kill them. And they don't live very nice before that. So, but there's other things you consume. So let's just quick. Now, this is not in the essays, but this could be part of your answer. Because remember, you're going to be asked a question, and you're going to answer the question with your thoughts. You're going to quote Michael Pollan to help you, quote and discuss Michael Pollan. You're going to quote and discuss David Foster Wallace. But if you get asked a question about consumption, when you quote David Foster Wallace, when you quote Michael Pollan, their examples are food. But there's other things that you consume. For example, clothing. When you buy clothing, are the people that made it being treated very well? Like, where's it come? Because David Foster Wallace and Michael Pollan were like, where does this food come from? And are are the animals that it comes from being treated well? Well, that goes for clothes and things too. If you buy clothes from China, from India, it raises a question, which is the people that are sewing and making your clothes, how are they being treated? Because if they're being treated bad, like let's say your sneakers are being made by like enslaved 13-year-old children, or the chocolate that well, chocolate's food again, but let's say your sneakers are being made by like little slave kids. Like that means your money is going to slaveholders. So it's the same issue. It's consumption. Your consumption of food may be unethical because the animals are badly treated, but your consumption of clothes or shoes might be unethical because of the way the workers are being treated. Are they being paid enough? Are they in healthy working conditions? And there's a whole bunch of so just the point is this bigger than food. In this class, I always tell you guys, give me an example, right? I say, what's your point? What do you think? Why do you believe this? Give me here's what I believe. Here's a reason. Here's an example. Um, One of the things these essays are about is ethical behavior. Eating food that's been treated well is part of ethical behavior. But there are other things too that are examples of consumption and are where do the things you buy, where do they come from? And are the people who make them being treated well? That's a question you can ask about animals and food, but it's also a question you can ask about clothing, about iPhones, about all kinds of things. So they make a point. So the point is you're not limited to talk. You do have to quote Michael Pollan and David Foster Wallace, but you're not limited to talking about food, depending on the question. You might get a question about things you consume or things you buy, and food can be part of that, but it doesn't have to be the whole thing. So something to keep in mind for paper 4. All right, let's take a look at some more stuff. Um, Culture, the customs of a particular people, nation, or other social group. Hey, we talked about that. Heck, we did a good job on this. Right, we talked about different cultures and their rules for eating food. In this culture, in American culture, it's not okay to eat cats and dogs and horses. But among Jewish people and Muslims, it's not okay to eat pork. So the different cultures have different things that are normal in that group. It's always a bad idea to talk about normal and be referring to everybody on planet Earth for all of human history, because things change when you get far away in space, and they change when you get far away in time. So instead of thinking about normal for everybody everywhere, well, men are just like that, we say. No, they're not. Um, it's what area are you talking about? So like it's perfectly normal to eat pigs in Texas, and it is not normal to eat pigs in a Hasidic community in Israel, right? It just depends. Normal depends on where you are, your culture. There's cultures and groups have sort of social norms. Look good. This is going really well. Conviction, a firmly held belief or opinion. You guys might be familiar with the word conviction, meaning go to jail. You've been convicted. Um, they're actually related words. So the idea is what a conviction is it's a firmly held belief. Like if you seriously believe in something, like you believe God is real, or you believe hurting animals is wrong, or if you believe, cheating is never okay in a relationship, you got to dump that person immediately. It's a firmly held belief. It's a conviction. That's called a conviction when you have a firmly held belief. If you know conviction only in relation to like being thrown in jail, like you've been convicted of a crime, the idea there is you've been convicted of a crime. It's like we firmly believe that you are guilty, and so you go to jail. So the idea is firm belief in both cases. A conviction is a firmly held belief. If you have been convicted of a crime, they only put you in jail when they're sure you did it, theoretically. So that's the idea. So it's an unusual use of the word conviction. Why are they giving you that word? It's probably going to be in one of the questions. You may see the word conviction. If you see the word conviction in a question, it doesn't have anything to do with jail time. It means something you believe in firmly. God is good, or cheaters are the worst human beings in the world, or whatever it is. Okay, cool. One of my convictions is that Plato is one of the greatest writers of all time. That is a firmly held, I have a conviction that studying philosophy is important. Okay, because it's firmly held, because how long would you have to talk to me out of that? You probably never could talk me out of that. I really like Plato. Okay, let's see what else we got. Production and or products, the process of making something. Well, pretty easy. A product is something you buy and it's produced, it's made by somebody. The reason they're putting that on there is just to remember these things. Like it's not like the meat just appears in the grocery store. Clothing doesn't just magically appear on the racks of stores. Somebody made it. If it's a product, it was produced somewhere by somebody. So do you have an ethical responsibility to find out about how things were produced, how things were processed? All right, cool. Moral justifications, a process of evaluation where a person attempts to make a morally questionable act seem right. Okay, so moral justifications. The word justification there just means reasons. Moral justification, and justification is when you're saying you're right. If you are justifying yourself, you are saying, I am correct. So a moral justification is like, ethics and morals are pretty much the same thing for purposes of this exam. So if you have a moral justification, means you have a belief about right and wrong, and you can justify it, meaning you have an explanation for why. Some people have ideas about right and wrong, and when you ask them to explain why, they don't know. A justification is like a reason why um, you believe what you believe. It's a reason for a moral justification is like a reason for an ethical decision. You know this because it showed up. Remember when David Foster Wallace said, if you eat meat, why do you think it's okay to do so? And if you think this whole conversation about eating meat being okay is stupid, why? He's asking you there for your moral justification. That's David Foster Wallace asked for your moral justification. If you think it's okay to eat meat, that's your morals. Why? Just how do you explain that to yourself? How do you justify that? And that's it. And now we are finished with the talking points. That's literally it. Sometimes going over the talking points can be complicated because I realized that I taught the essays and I forgot all this shit. I didn't forget anything. I think you know all of that already. So I'm going to make one more video, a quick one. But those are the talking points, and those are things that what we just went over is a list of things the people who wrote the exam thought you ought to know about. So, okay, I'll make one more video quick.